Now it's time to bring out my split personality disorder and tell you why Ireland will win the World Cup and why they definitely will not win the World Cup. Simultaneously choke on that like button and lift it triumphantly above your head, and let's get a little Jekyll and Hyde on Irish rugby. Now, for some reason, people love it when speakers give their opinions with complete certainty, even though, as we all know, opinions are like assholes. We've all got them, and they're mostly full of shit. Well, today I'm throwing some more shit out there. This video has 2 parts. Sorry I did the fingers at you. In the first part, I will tell you why Ireland will undoubtedly not win the World Cup.
No way!
And then I will tell you why they will definitely win the Webb Ellis Trophy later in the year.
I've never been as sure as anything in my whole life.
So let's make like a plumber's butt when he's changing your pipes under the sink and crack into it. Mark my words, Ireland will not win the 2023 Rugby World Cup. It pains me to say it as they are my ancestral home and my second favourite international team on the planet, but they have the same chance of winning as I do as becoming the first man to get a blowjob on the moon, which is a 0% chance. I really think it's unlikely I'm going to get that blowjob. Now, there are many reasons for this, but first, which is abundantly apparent, is that they have been truly awful at Rugby World Cups. They've played in 7 World Cup quarterfinals and they've lost the lot. And for the most part, they haven't even been close. Their average losing margin in these games is a sphincter-piercing 19 points. Their best result was back in 1991 when they lost by a solitary point to the eventual winners Australia. Now let's compare that to the All Blacks' worst result, a 2-point defeat in a World Cup quarterfinal to the French. Still hurts.
Emotional, damn it!
Now, New Zealand's worst result is only 1 point worse than Ireland's best result. So other than that tight one in 91, for the boys in green, it really is just a series of bum spanking poundings. So it's fair to say that they have underperformed at the big dance, and the monkey on their back is now donkey punching them so hard the pressure will undoubtedly make them once again internally combust. On top of that, World Rugby has given the Irish the most challenging path imaginable to win their first ever quarterfinal. It's cruel, but it's true. As I'm sure most of you are aware, the senior citizens and baby boomers at World Rugby prematurely jizzed out the World Cup draw all the way back in 2020. 3 full years before the World Cup. And as you may know, it's all based on the rankings at the time of the draw to ensure an even spread of talent. But things change. The dumb old bastards at World Rugby completely screwed the pooch with this one, and now all 5 of the top ranked teams in the world are on one side of the draw, and poor old Ireland, assuming they escaped the pool of death they're in with 3 of the top 5 ranked teams in the world, will either face the tournament favourites, the spectacular French outfit in their home World Cup, or the most successful team in international rugby history, a team with a total of 3 World Cup titles, the mighty All Blacks. Sorry I said that, I'm very passionate about that side, who will be hankering for revenge after losing a home series in 2022. Now I can hear the shouting from the green pastures of Ireland. Yeah, well remember, we fucked you Kiwis good and proper in the series last year, you dumb shite. Now, that's a fair point. Yeah, but if we cast our memories back to the last World Cup cycle leading into 2019, you managed to beat the All Blacks 2 times. Still, such is the psychological mindfuck that is Ireland in a knockout game at a Rugby World Cup, the boys in green completely shat the bed and got their bums well and truly rosied into a deep shade of purple as they were pounded by 32 points by the men in black. My Irish friends, this team has done very well recently, but tumbling out of quarters is kind of your thing. It's not a fair reflection on how good this team is, but it would be fucking typical, wouldn't it? Now another reason. Now let's dust off that old number 10 with a dodgy package and let's talk about how Ireland's whole World Cup campaign lives and dies on the dodgy groin of a foul-mouthed middle-aged Irishman. Jonathan Jeremiah Sexton, the man who has spent much of this season in the grandstands in a suit due to a groin injury. Don't get me wrong, the fella is one hell of a player and a real asset to the Irish. He's so much of an asset that he is actually a problem. Ireland are entirely reliant on the groin of a middle-aged man, and as we all know, middle-aged men's groins become more and more unreliable with time. And if tragedy strikes and Johnny can't get those weary old family jewels onto the field, Ireland are a different team. They're like a bull without a big old hog. They may look similar, but they won't be f***ing anyone up. Without the old boy on the pitch, Joey Carberry and Ross Byrne don't seem to cut the mustard at that level. For example, Ireland played the great nation of Japan twice in 2021. Without Sexton, the score was tight 39-31. But a few months later, with Johnny at the helm, the score was 60-5. The Irish pounded the men from the land of the rising sun so hard, the Japanese players were rumoured to have been considering leaving rugby to become geishas. And for my final reason why the Irish will not win is they are a team that sometimes wears green but also have a not so covert operation where they wear navy blue and call them South Leinster. And despite having a pretty good year with a team packed full of more Irish talent than the 1996 cast of Riverdance, when the pressure was on they crumbled in the URC semi and the Heineken Cup final. They were in commanding positions in both games and failed to have the composure to win the big moments and ice the game. Instead, on both occasions, they lost their heads and shat the bed. And relating to the previous point, they didn't have old saggy ball Sexton in both games. Although Sexton did manage to poop the bed in the Heineken Cup by calling Yucky Piper a f***ing disgrace. And as at the time of this recording, he hasn't been given any sanctions, and for Ireland's sake, I hope they don't. Ireland will not win the World Cup. Mark my words. Okay, sod that noise and negativity. I'm here to tell you why Ireland will definitely win the Rugby World Cup. Mark my mother-loving words. The point of the World Cup is to find the best team in the world, and Ireland, the #1 ranked team, the Grand Slam winning Six Nations and Steinlager Cup champions, are undoubtedly the best team in the world. I'm getting steamed. They have overcome all challenges over the last 12 months. Like a baby learning to walk, they have been resolute, gritty, unable to accept defeat, and have crushed their opposition at every turn. Well, babies don't crush their opposition really, they just crush their parents' sleeping patterns and sanity. Over the last 12 months, their only loss was at Eden Park, a ground that the All Blacks have sold to the devil in exchange for being virtually unbeatable there back in 1994. Even on the back of that loss, they did the hardest thing in the game and won back-to-back games against the All Blacks on the bounce in New Zealand, a feat never achieved by any side in the professional era, and only achieved by 5 other sides in 100 years of trying. Now, beating the All Blacks team at home isn't even the most impressive thing they have done over the last 12 months. Their campaign in the Six Nations was. They managed to consistently perform at a level higher than Willie Nelson's pet Labrador. Not only did they win the Six Nations, but they bet other opponents they are likely to face in the World Cup quarters, the much fancied French, who with all their class threw the kitchen sink at the boys in green but came off second best. Now I'll say it again because repetition is a cheap way to get by, but the thing I'm in awe of with those Paddy Gems is how unbelievably consistent they are under immense pressure. Over the past year they have had so many opportunities to crumble. Take the third test in New Zealand last year when the All Blacks came roaring back into it, and us Kiwis thought we were going to do what All Blacks teams do and come over the top of the Irish in the back end. Hold on, that didn't sound right. Well, the Irish had other ideas. In the face of the unbearable weight of that massive moment in Irish rugby history, they told the sheepshaggers to right off and scored 2 massive tries to secure a historic series win. In the following international series in autumn, they went unbeaten, notching up wins against the Wallabies and the invariably world-class Saffers. And in this hotly competitive Six Nations, they didn't just survive in the boiling pressure cooker that is an international rugby tournament. They thrived in it. They set up a holiday house in it and took selfies with pretentious captions saying, "Living my best life." Not once under the immense pressure of the competition did they fail to put in a world-class performance. Not once did they take their eyes off the ball or succumb to the weight of expectation from a dedicated rugby public that appears to be growing by the minute. They bet a spectacular French team that threw everything at the Irish. They bet the best Scottish side in years, and finally they iced the tournament and the Grand Slam against England, who would have been desperate to spoil the party and regain some respect after a pumping from the French a week before. Now sure, it's inescapable, the boys in green have an incredibly difficult draw, but they are battle tested in the fires of Mordor for the upcoming World Cup, and I get the feeling as a side they cannot wait to head back to the fires of the underworld and once again come out triumphant in some of the highest stakes rugby on the planet. The Irish have the best coach in the world and some of the best players in the world who have all been in career best form at international level. But even with the greatness of their world-class players as a team, they are greater than the sum of their individual parts and are the greatest team in the world. The rankings don't lie. They are the best team in the world. They will win the World Cup, and by God, it will be glorious! Koi big! Comment below whether you think the boys in green have a good shot at the World Cup or not. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping to make a few more vids like this on the other top teams, so if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Follow me on Twitter at Tones88. Be good to each other, brothers and sisters. Go call your mum. Haere rā. Mwah!